Hey everybody, coming at you with a new video. This one has been in the works for a while. Then I moved. Now I moved. I'm here. New location, new studio. Uh, Without further ado, I want to talk about favorite games. I want to talk about my favorite game. And then I ask my friends, hey, what are some of your favorite games? So I just want to kind of just have a little thing here, you know? Let's dive right in. Obviously, my favorite game, if you know me, it's The Last of Us. It's so good. I love a post-apocalyptic game. I love a story-driven game, and I get both of them. And the graphics are pretty good too. I've been playing through the second one, but you can't have a good second one without a solid first one. I was gonna say fourth. That's wrong. First one is so good. Like, I got the chance to meet Mr. There he is, Baker. Yeah, got a few things signed by him, but digressing there. It's just a good game, and then the sequel built. I haven't finished it yet. I'm still working through it, so no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers, Lucas, no spoilers. But it's really, really good. It feels like they took everything that the first one had and just made it better. So, without further ado, I got some of your suggestions. We're gonna dive in. We're gonna start with John. He said Chips Challenge. I forgot about Chips Challenge. Until you suggested that. That is an old school Linux, I guess, but it was just something you can probably Google it and like play a browser-based version. But it was a really weird puzzle game where like you're trying to get to the end of each level and then there's ice, so you slide on it. But if you get the ice skates, then you can control it. And it just had a weird element to it, and it was a fun game. You know, I really enjoyed it. Uh, Animal Crossing. We're gonna keep going through here. We're gonna make this a simple, short video, not take a lot of your time, but just talk here. Ash, you recommended Animal Crossing. Now, I know you're not a huge gamer. You don't play a lot of things as some other people like hardcore work hours and hours on end. But Animal Crossing is definitely that type of game where I know you can put a lot of time in and just have some fun with it. I have not played the new one because I do not own a Switch. I've yet to see a game on the Switch personally that I'm like, I need. But I remember playing the original on GameCube, and the main thing that stood out is it needed an entire memory card, all 59 blocks of one, just to save it. I'm sure the Switch version is a little bit different than that. The other thing I remember taking away from the GameCube one was they actually included a bunch of NES classics, and you could set up little things. So I had a whole basement with NES classic games like like Punch Out and a few things like that. So that was really fun, but I do not understand the bell/turnip system. I see friends posting about like values. I guess it's currency, and it means something if you go buy and sell. It's like stocks, but I just see a lot of people come to my island. It's worth so and so, but yeah, Animal Crossing. Moving along, Sims busting out, Caroline. Now I know you've told me you've played a lot of this game. I played a good amount of it back in the day. I know you told me you spent a lot of time just like creating the Sims, the characters themselves. I spent a lot of time torturing them and drowning them in pools and causing fires, but to each his own, right? But yeah, the old school Sims busting out and trying to keep your little dudes happy and just enjoy the environment. Now, Matt, you brought back another classic. You mentioned several games, but Warhawk stood out to me. Warhawk is another game I forgot about, and like it was so good for its time. Had big multiplayer, air combat, vehicle combat. I was gonna say vehicular, kind of the same. On foot, turrets, and it was a multiplayer focused game. They kind of had a single player tutorial, but meh. And then they did that sequel, Starhawk, that actually had a full on single player. I actually owned it, but never played the sequel, so I don't even know if I still own it. I think I got rid of it. But Warhawk was, I think, ahead of its time. If it got like a facelift and re-released in the modern era, I think it could thrive on PS4 or PS5. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. When you see games like Battlefront, have taken everything from the old PS2, Xbox Ones, and now they're coming out with these new ones. So a little bit of the old, but with a dash of new. Warhawk could be a game that would definitely thrive for that aspect. Jake, the Tales games. Can't say I've ever played them. I know big RPGs. You're going to see RPGs pop up on this video a few times. I got friends that play a lot of RPGs. I know you always talk about the Tales games. GameCube had Tales of Symphonia. I wish I could tell you more. I wish I had more to say about it. You didn't tell me too much of why, but hey, you can always write things down below. But Tales is a game I've heard nothing but good things about back in the GameStop days, and yeah. It's got really pretty art style. That's something going for it. Now, Alex, talking about Contra, and of course we got the Konami code. Can't have Contra without that. Classic game, hard too. The Konami code, it gives you 30 lives or some weird number. It wasn't like 100, it wasn't infinite, but it was like 30, I think. And now that code has popped up in so many other Konami games for triggering different things, but it was just a classic for its day of just side-scroller, kind of soldiery, shooting, but then aliens, so hey, why not? It was a fun game though, so definitely a good suggestion, good game. Now, if I'm remembering right, I didn't write this down, no script, just controller. Creighton, you're the one who told me this one. Final Fantasy. You didn't specify which one though. There's a lot of them, and this won't be the first time that Final Fantasy comes up during this video, but so we kind of went original just for fun, because it's fun to look into how it's changed. I never played much of Final Fantasy. I started at 7, then I went to 10, and then I kind of stopped other than like some spin-offs, Dissidia, Crisis Core. There's another one I can't... Oh, I played Air Guys, which was a fighting game that featured Final Fantasy characters. That's fun. And then, of course, Dirge of Cerberus. Love that one. But I'm not a big RPG guy, even though I have a Final Fantasy 7 tattoo on my leg, but why not? When you have a friend that tattoos, you get weird tattoos. I like it, though. You got Red 13's mark. But yeah, Final Fantasy started somewhere, and it's one of the founding just games in the RPG genre, and so many games have taken inspiration and built on what it established. So it's definitely a good series. Chris, well, you know, not me, but a different Dan said, hey, gun to your head, you had to comment because you said you couldn't choose one. Well, you couldn't comment, so I guess you'll just die. That's just how it is. Sorry, Chris. I told you Final Fantasy would come back on this list. Mike. There's going to be 2 Mikes, but first Mike, you suggested Final Fantasy X. That is one of them that I played. I remember it had the grid system as well as Blitzball. I sucked at Blitzball, but, you know, it was a thing, and they did the re-release even though they didn't change it. They just updated graphics, I think. So maybe one day I'll pick it up again. Probably, I don't know. But I remember, I'm pretty sure it's the first one that included voice acting. You had that weird scene with Tidus and Yuffie laughing. If you played the game, you know what I mean. It's a weird scene. But I also got to give credit for Kamari. He was such a good character. He was so like stoic and just the guard of Yuna. Yuna? Yeah, sure. And then, like, he wouldn't say anything, but the first time he really speaks is just like, Kamari will say what he wants. And he just had this weird, like, very, very serious tone about him. And it was a fun game and had a good story. Then they did a sequel. Good songs, though. Nick, you talked Civilization. Now, again, there's a lot of them, so we kind of threw a little bit of everything, and we'll talk briefly about Civilization. That is, it's a fun strategy game. It's a great game that has built a lot in that RTS genre. And it had the Gandhi glitch, where apparently if you set his, like, friendliness to, 9, and then it goes up a level, it resets, and then he becomes, like, hostile and nukes everything. It was a bug at first, but then I think they just ran with it in all the games. But I do want to comment on, Sid Meier's Civilization. They released for PS3, and I picked it up one day, like, oh, I've heard good things. Picked it up, went home from a closing shift back in the GameStop days, and started playing it. And then I think it was like 5, 6 a.m. when I realized the sun was coming up, and I stopped playing it. So I grinded that one for an entire night, and it's one of those games that you can play a long time and not really do much, but yet you do everything. I think I still technically have a game going with one of my friends on PC, just because we played a lot of it, we stopped, played a little bit, and then, like, it's just kind of, I don't know. Don't know if we'll ever finish that one, but it's fun, though. It's a really interesting game. Good strategy game. Ryan, talking more RPGs, talking about Legend of Dragoon. A game that I've only played the demo for back in the old days when you got the demo discs from Pizza Hut. If I remember correctly, you could order a pizza and they'd give you PS1 demo discs, and I played a lot of the demo. Never actually played the full game, don't own it. I think you can get it on the PlayStation Network as a PS1 classic. If not, you should be able to, because this game is really good for what I played, and it's one that comes up a lot in the talks of, you know, what games should be remade, re-released, and so on. This game keeps coming up in that list. Really, really pretty art style. Very Final Fantasy-esque, but just had a cool combat system to it. So, Legend of Dragoon, definitely a good game. Great choice for your favorite game. Moving on, we're going to talk Friday the 13th. Shane, wasn't a surprise when you wrote this one. I know you're a huge horror fan, so talking, of course, Friday the 13th. This game I played, I got it for free, as a lot of people did, for PlayStation Plus. It's very Dead by Daylight-ish, but yet with Friday the 13th, like, I don't know, blanket over it, so whatever you want to call it. And like Jason had the kind of unique stalking abilities, and his executions were like the highlight of the game. Were just the environmental kills, and that's kind of why you watch horror movies, like especially slashers. The game itself, I know at launch was super buggy. They've patched it several times over, and I think there was even like an issue with the main developer just kind of abandoning it, and then somebody else kind of took over. But either way, the game is definitely more stable now. Pretty fun. So good game, good choice. Recent choice. Brandon talking about Paper Mario. Again, there's a lot of different ones. We kind of went old school here. Only one I ever played was the GameCube one, but Paper Mario, when Mario kept being the same thing over and over and over again, and then it went 3D a little bit, Paper Mario kind of brought it back to that side-scroller platform, but it put in that essence of your paper, so you're flat. The world is flat and will be treated as such, so it was cool to see that aspect. I know Yoshi did that yarn one recently, a few years ago, maybe not that recent, where it's yarn, so the world responds accordingly. And it was just a unique take to see these well-established and long-running franchises kind of get a little breath of fresh air in them. And the Paper Mario series was definitely a good one for that. That might be it. No, there's one more. Where is it? We'll find it. Apparently I was recording Star Wars stuff in between and taking screenshots. But we got one more for you. There it is. Other Mike. Odin Sphere. Now, Odin Sphere, another game I did not play. Made by Atlas. They are notorious for their RPGs. That's what they do. They do awesome RPGs. I know working with you, again, GameStop, it comes up a lot. I met a lot of people through that job. Odin Sphere was one of those games when anybody came in and be like, oh, I'm looking for an RPG, you would always suggest this game, up and down, left and right, up, down, down, back, A, B, square, start, Konami it. But it was it was no surprise when you told me this was your favorite game. I got it, because I never played it, so I didn't actually get it, but it had that kind of hand-drawn art style, and I'm pretty sure because it was, that we see in modern games like Dragon's Crown, which is another side-scroller, kind of more of a combat-based game, or side-scroller beat-em-up, more specifically. But Odin Sphere definitely set the way for a lot of artistic styles and choices. So Atlas has always been Atlas, and Square Enix, Squaresoft, whatever you want to call them, however you grew up with them, are definitely two frontiersmen. We'll go with that. Pioneers. That's the word I was looking for in the RPG genre. More importantly, the JRPG genre. Because when the Western RPGs came out, that was more Fallout and stuff of that nature. Skyrim. That's more where I like, but I digress. Talking about some of your favorites, so definitely good choices. I'm glad to hear from you guys. Glad that I can finally get this video recorded. Hopefully with better lighting. This is actually the second time I've recorded this video. The first time I rewatched it halfway through starting to upload, realized I was pretty much not here. Like, it was very dark, so I hope this is better. I'm gonna get one thing while I have your attention. Sometimes I sync stuff up, but other times I kind of forget. So, what are you gonna do? I want to talk about another project, and I'm gonna throw it up on Facebook too. I want to hear, and you guys can write it down below, because I appreciate when you write things down here. But I want to talk about not your favorite. We just did favorite. We did favorite games. We're gonna go the other side of the coin. We're going to know your most hated movie. What is a movie that you do not like? I want to hear you guys' suggestions, and I want to do a video about that. I like this. I want more of this. So What's a movie that you just can't stand? And tell me why. I want to be able to say, you hate this movie for X, Y, Z. Do it. I'm going to throw this up on Facebook. I'm going to put that comment down below. And when I get a good amount like I done here, we'll make a video. But until that time, you know what you got to do. You got to be safe. You got to be kind. Because I'll see you next time. Bye.